Hey y'all, it's Leah. Welcome to my new series on tabs, dangles, and flips. Oh my. If you've been watching my channel, I have been making an ideas book where I've been making templates of different junk journal elements. And as I was going through, I started thinking, I was like, I really want something that has like page tabs and different flips and, dangles and things that are going to hang over the edges. And so I decided to figure out a way to do this. So I was looking online and looking at some ideas. And of course, Natasha at Treasure Books has this journal full of things. And I was like, oh, that would actually be perfect to have an actual journal with it. So I had this journal that I had put together. I was going to do I do like a Marguerite Miller thing every year. And so I was going to use it for that, but I decided against it. And so it already had all of these decorative tabs. I had bound the book that way. I had like picked out all of those papers. It's a good thing I was a scrapbooker before because I still have a ton of scrapbook paper. And so it's got all of those things in it. So I was like, oh, this would be perfect to add some edges and different things to it. And so that is what I'm going to be doing. So on Wednesdays, I will be continuing this series with the tabs, dangles, and flips and edges. And then on Saturdays, I will continue on the templates. And so we'll keep going with both of those until I exhaust myself or come up with a new idea. So yeah, so let's go ahead and get started on this. So the first one we are going to do is just kind of the tried and true, a little bit of lace, because that is what I think if you're like me, that's kind of what I always revert to, is lace and, like an edge border. But this one, I decided I'm gonna put it at the top just to have something. It doesn't go all the way across, and so it just kind of adds a little texture to the page. I love when pages have, or in journals have, things sticking out of the top and the sides. And so, because a lot of times, depending on how your journal is in, if you've got it in a bookshelf, you don't always see this part. You see the spine and then you see the top. And so I like having some things at the top to stick there. And so don't just stick with lace, but there's things, this is more of like a woven jute kind of. It's like a washed out, really heavily washed jute. And so you can use things like that as well. It's not, it doesn't have the same pattern on the back, but that still is a nice pattern that you're going to see through onto the other side. And so we'll just get a little bit of this on here. I haven't decided what I'm going to do with this journal, if I'm actually going to decorate the pages at some point. I have a feeling I will, but I figure I'll just kind of go with it and see what happens. So that is our first one. This series is going to be a little bit different in that I'm not really going to write directions for things, because most of them are pretty self-explanatory. If I need to, I will, but for the most part, it's just going to be more of like a look and do kind of thing. So all right, so the next one is adding tickets. So I have a whole little drawer full of tickets, because when I started junk journaling, I was like, oh, I need all the tickets in all the colors. And yeah, I don't. I don't use them as much as I should, but they are pretty handy. But I thought this was a fun little thing that you can do. So when you've got the ones that are wrapped, that come like this, you can just fold it and then wrap it around your page. And then I was just going to leave it sticking out a little bit. You can glue these down. You could even staple these down if you wanted to. It's totally up to you. So let's see, I need to go a little bit here and a little bit here. And this is definitely something you could just do, one kind of, you could just have the, like one part, and then you could treat it as like a page tab and hang something off of it. Oh, I did that wrong. That's not what I wanted to. Well, we'll just tear that one off. I meant for that one to be at the top, but that is okay, because that's what happens. It's all good. All right, so we'll just glue those on there. If you don't have ones that are, if you just had them like this, you could just glue them down like the edge, and then if you wanted to have something on the back side, then you could just glue another one to the other side. But sometimes, like, a lot of us have really pretty tickets that, you know, come in kits or different things, and so that would look really pretty down the side of a page. But this would be fun in like a very eclectic journal. You could use, you know, these traditional, like, you know, I think of them like as arcade tickets or like raffle tickets kind of thing. I know we always had a ton of them for school, because we'd give them to the kids for random things and, you know, have drawings and that kind of stuff. So, all right, so using tickets, that is another one. Okay. Another option is to make little paper ruffles. You can also make fabric ruffles. So if you have a sewing machine, this works really well. So you basically just feed it into the machine. You can kind of see where I started, and then you go pretty slow with it, and then you just fold, like you kind of pinch and fold up and just start feeding it through. Actually, it's this way. Yes. And so you're just kind of folding, you're folding down. That's what it is. And then you're just continuing to do that as you go through and sew that along. And then you can just cut, you end up with like a big roll because you just keep adding pages to it. So like, let's see. I don't think I have, no, this is all just one. So you just, where is that? Nope. Sorry, I thought that was mixed pages. But yeah, you just feed in the next page with it. And so those, oh, and that came undone. That's why that looked like that. So these can just go on the edges like this. And then next time I'm going to show you another way to kind of make a faux paper ruffle or ribbon ruffle. So we can just glue this down. And then you can always use, when you're making these, you can use double-sided paper, and so that way you do end up with something pretty on the back side. Because right now you are just gonna see, oops, let that dry a little bit before I turn the page. There we go. Yeah, because you're just, but that doesn't look bad with just the white kind of beige paper showing. So I did go ahead and glue in some book pages, because there are some ideas that look really good on a book page that are, you know, kind of book page specific. And so I thought this one was really fun. I don't know about you, but I end up with lots of sticker sheets that I will probably never have time or energy to use all of them. Or a lot of times you're like, it just, the stickers don't fit with, you know, kind of the things that you're doing, but they would look really cool as just kind of a page edge design. And so this was one of Natasha's ideas, where you basically just start kind of putting your stickers down, and you can wrap them around the top. Kind of do this one across, well, that one's kind of the same. So we'll do this one around the bottom. This one can go across the top, but it just adds just such a fun little decoration to pages that would normally either be bare, or, you know, sometimes you just don't know what to do with them. And so, and it uses up those supplies, because I hate just I have so many supplies, and partially because I was a scrapbooker and I was a card maker prior to getting into junk journaling, and so I just have a lot of stuff, because I truly believe that is a separate hobby, is buying things and using things, and organizing things, because I love to organize. So yeah, so you can just kind of wrap it around. So it's nice to be able to use up some of those supplies that we have, just kind of sitting around, that, you know, they're just taking up space. And when you use them all, then it gives you an excuse that you get to get more. That's always my idea. So yeah, just kind of do it, kind of end it like that. And notice how that one, I think I let it kind of go over. You can always, if they're actually the book page, you can always just trim them off. In this case, because this is glued down, I'm just gonna fold it over, because that looks fine too, to not have the full sticker. But just look how pretty that is. It just adds such a nice little you know, kind of texture and dimension, even though it's 2D. So I thought that was a really fun idea. Okay, and then one more. So I have these whale tail tab punches. So I have a punch that just does one size, and then I have the die cuts that does 3 different sizes. And so this was actually one that I thought of, and a lot of times I will use these as just you know, making a tab and then putting an eyelet in and hanging something off of it. But I was like, why can't you make a whole little row of these? And so I thought it would be kind of fun to mix and match, and do different sizes, different papers. Now, obviously, depending on what journal you were making, you might want them to be all the same size, all the same papers, or just kind of alternate between 2 papers. But I'm just kind of, when I do whale tails, I always put the edge of the paper kind of right at that little scoop part. And so that way they're kind of, well, I guess they're not all the same. They're not meeting at the same spots, but that's okay. But it does make them look uniform, that they're all. So I'm just going big, medium, little. There's actually a 4th size in the set, but I decided not to go with that one. And I'm just going, if I would have pulled, I probably should have pulled some other ones, because I might have done, like, put another medium one there, but I don't think that looks too bad. Just kind of going, but it just adds something a little different. And you could hang like a couple of different charms off of these. It would make a very jingly jangly page, which that's always fun. I think when you can have just some extra little like 3D elements to your journals, just makes them really cool. And I like my journals to be interactive. I want people to enjoy kind of looking at them and you know, touching everything. And I think it's definitely, like, for me, it's a very like kinesthetic hobby. Like, I want to touch things. And I think that part of that is like the teacher in me, the reader in me. Like, it kills me that I have to read on my iPad now because my eyes aren't great and I have a hard time with light. Actually, I'm just gonna take that one off because I don't like the way that looks. I don't want it hanging off, but you get the idea of what that looks like. So yeah, obviously you would plan that out a little bit depending on your page. Okay, so then the very last one is not one I'm going to demo because it is already done, but it is just using, if you have any of these paper punches, And so they just line up, if you've seen those. So it cuts that little bit, so kind of what's in here, and then it gives you the guides on either side that you can move it over to the side, so you know where it's lining up. And so you can just take your paper in there and kind of run it through, which is exactly what I did prior to building this journal. And so you can do those. If you have die cuts, you can die cut some edges and then just glue them to the edge of the paper. That works as well. And I'll do that with some in a future episode. So I hope you are liking this. Hopefully you will start making your own little tab dangles and flips and edges. I should have put edges on there. Oh my, might even just like write it in or something, just to be silly. So yeah, anyway, I hope you are making one. Let me know if there is something that you want to see in this, or drop me a comment about anything, and just let me know what you think. And please, if you haven't liked and subscribed, please do so, and I will see y'all next time. Bye.